from start to finish what happens to a person when they go to prison.
Hi, I'm Larry Lawton, America's biggest jewel thief. Join me as I walk you through my past robberies, how I planned them, executed them, and ultimately got caught. I'm going to show you how we did things in prison, like making a tattoo gun, making wine, making white lightning. It's going to be very educational. These are the untold stories.
I know from all of my experiences, obviously, and from talking to young people that come to prison, and one of the reasons I do what I do is because I saw such a waste out there in the real world of young people coming to prison and not getting it. And when I say not getting it, like the light bulb doesn't go off. Like, this is it. You know, your life is somewhat ruined. Obviously, everybody can come back from anything, and I hope people do, so I never want people to give up. But I also want you to make good choices and not go to prison. So let me start exactly what happens. Let's just say you're out there and you're a drug dealer. And I mean a small drug dealer. You're selling an ounce here, an ounce there, a couple of things of weed, maybe coke or meth or what. I don't know what you're doing. I hope you're not doing anything, but let's say you are. Let's say you get busted. The first thing is going to happen, it depends on who you get busted with. If you got busted by the feds, they're definitely going to work their way up. And they're gonna try to flip you, and sadly, most people, they do flip. So if it's the feds or DEA, and your friend says, "I beat that case," don't believe him. That guy's probably snitching, and they let him out to get the next guys up the ladder. That's how normally that works. So if a guy comes and he say, you hear he gets busted by the DEA at his house, the DEA just don't go bust you at your house. They want something and they know what they're doing. They got the federal money behind them and the courts and everybody else. So those guys are a whole different animal. Let me just go straight there. So if you get busted by the DEA, they're going to try to flip you. They're going to bring you in. They're going to process you. And the reason I know that is because they're going to process you federally. I was arrested in North Lauderdale, Florida. And I was processed in Opelika, Florida, which is where the FBI has a center where they can process people. And that's where you get your federal number. The last 3 digits of a person's federal number, like mine is 52224-004. 004 is Miami. And that's the Southern District of Florida. So that's how they let you know what number you are. Each federal district will have a number, whether it's West Palm Beach, New York is 053 or 054. So you get to know those numbers when you're in prison, but you will get a federal number. Now that number will stick with you forever. If I got arrested today on a federal charge, my number would be 52224-004. That's my number. That's Larry's number. So I would have that same exact number. So, I mean, that's not great, obviously. You don't want to have a federal number. And anybody who says, I'd rather go to federal prison than state prison, hasn't been in either. When you go with the big boys in the federal system, you're screwed. Doesn't matter who you know, doesn't matter how much money you have, you are screwed. Just simple as what it is, you're screwed. But if you're in the federal system and you're a young person, let's say you're 22 years old and the DEA gets you, they're definitely going up the ladder. And they're going to want to find out where you get your weed or coke or whatever you're selling. They want to know where you get it. And they're going to work their way up. And they know enough already to know how big or small you are. That's just fact. They know. Now you take local. Let's say you get busted by your local PD. Depending on what it is, obviously they don't have the resources or money to follow real big criminals. They will file cases, obviously, to hire the case, murder cases, rape cases, stuff of that nature. They're going to do whatever they can to keep those cases alive, obviously. But they don't have the manpower and they don't have the resources. And if you're a small-time dealer in a city, they probably got snitched out by some local kid and they want to come bust you. They're more or less letting you know they know who you are. You're going to get arrested. Now you're going to go to the county jail. Now you're going to have a bond. Everybody has bond or bail. Everybody gets bail unless it's a capital crime. The only 2 ways you don't get bail is, one, if you're a threat to the community, or you're a flight risk. Obviously, a low-life dealer and the local neighbor is really not going to be a big flight risk, or usually not a dangerous person. Unless they can prove that you're really violent or you're really a threat to the community, you're going to get bail. So remember that. Most crimes actually have a set bail. So if you get arrested and whatever, like DUIs, I think it's $500, you can bail out and get out the next day. A lot of them have set bails: robbery, shoplifting, petty theft, or even regular robberies. They'll have a bond. You will have a bond. Now you have to have your bond hearing. Some states within 48 hours, some are 72 hours. So you have to have a bond hearing, or you have to see a judge within 48 hours. Pretty sure it's 48 hours. So you have to see a judge. Now that doesn't mean you're going to see the judge in front of you. A lot of times they do it right from a TV set or a video monitor like this in a county jail. So they'll do that. They'll have that set up at the jail. They'll run everybody every day. You can actually watch those online in most counties. In the county I live at, I think it's every 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You could actually go online, and it's called the clerk of the courts in your area will have those proceedings usually online. So if you know someone who was arrested and they got to see a judge, which they will, and you'll know what their bond is, what the actual charges are, because they're going to read those charges to that guy. And then there's going to be a public defender there, or an attorney if you have one, and there's going to be a state attorney or prosecutor. And that person's going to fight for a higher bail or whatever that bullshit is. And your guy's going to say, listen, he's not a flight risk, Your Honor. He's young, he made a mistake, hanging out with the wrong people. And they're going to give you a bond to come back to court. Now, once you come back to court, now the dealing starts, so to speak. They're going to find out what you know. They're going to all try to get higher. Every local, state, feds are going to try to find you higher. But let's say you're just a low-life dealer. Now you're arrested. They're gonna set a date. Now, what I tell a lot of people is, go for a speedy trial. Don't let your attorneys say, oh, let's do a continuance, because the state loves that. Usually, they might not have all their ducks in order, and you want a speedy trial. That means you have to have a trial within 180 days. It's a speedy trial law. And if you don't get it, they lose, literally. That's it. Unless they try to indict you again, a lot of stuff. Judges don't like it. So when you go there, hey, Your Honor, I'm ready for trial, if you're going to trial. Because you got to put the burden back on the state to get and make sure they have the evidence against you. Obviously, a lot of times they won't indict you until they do have evidence. But if you're arrested like out of a car, and it's just some quick arrest, that's the ones they really going to start building, and you don't want a continuous. And a lot of lawyers just do it because it's a money game. They don't care. The longer you're there, they push it off. There are a lot of things that I don't like, and I'll be talking to an attorney about this here soon. So now, you now go to trial, or you end up working out a plea deal. When you work out a plea deal, depending on how much time you work out, if it's over a year and a day, you go to state prison. You don't go to a county jail. If it's under 365 days, you usually stay in a county jail. And obviously, if you go to a state jail, the state prison, you get the game time, the good time, so to speak. And whatever little it is in that state, in Florida, it's 85%, but you get those whatever days it is, that you get that 15%. You get those. I think it's like 28 days a year. But you get those days if you go to state prison, or any state, or feds, of course. But if you go to a county jail, you don't. Now, there's positives and negatives to going to state and going to county jail. Obviously, the turnover in county jail is a lot more, because people are coming, going, making bond, new arrests, and stuff of that nature. So gangs don't have a really long time to take hold of a prison. Like in state prisons and fed prisons, the gangs are in there for years and years, and they get very comfortable in that prison. They start recruiting, they start staking their ground in that prison, whether it's in the kitchen and stuff, and we're going to go into that here in a minute. So now you are, let's just say you're going to get 2 years in prison. Now you're going to a state facility. Now when you get to that state facility, you don't just go to a prison that's near your house, something like that. What happens is you have to go to what they call the reception center. Once you get to that reception center, they start evaluating you. Not only medically, what your crime is, how many points you have, what prison, where's your family, what level of prison should you go to? Are you a violent offender? Are you a person who got caught in a bunch of fights? Did you assault a cop? A lot of different variables go into what prison you're going to go to. So now most cases, a young kid, non-violent, drug charge, and didn't do anything to get crazy, is going to probably go to a low security prison, especially with a couple of years. Now that doesn't mean a camp necessarily. Some you will go to a camp, but they usually leave camps for check writers and tax evader, or a doctor who did something against Medicare and gets 3 months, some bullshit like that. Usually that's the camp people. Now the camp is different than a low. A camp has no fences. A low has fences, sometimes double fences. Then a medium has definitely double fence. They all have the concertina wire going around the prison. And of course a maximum security prison is where you don't want to go. That's going to have the gun towers and the people with murderers and life sentences and some serious crimes. If you did something to get to a maximum security prison, strap up, get your boots on. The first thing you do if you ever go to a maximum security prison is look what everybody's wearing on their feet. Do they have flip-flops on? Do they have their boots on, or do they have sneakers on at 8 o'clock at night? If they have that, you better be careful, because something might jump off and people are ready to go. If people are lounging around in their shorts and flip-flops and not giving a shit, it's usually nothing, no tension. Can always jump off, but usually there's no tension per se in that regard at that facility. So that's the first thing I do, is I find out from one of the guards. You can see how busy the hole is. Someone like me in the federal system, they put me in what they call captain's review. Captain's review is when you have a bad record and they want to see if they're going to let you on their yard, and the captain runs security. So if that captain just says, no, he ain't coming on my yard, they look through your thing. They know who your co-defendants are. They know what your charges are, what prison you came from, if you're a troublemaker or whatever it was. And they'll give you the riot act. They'll put you in the SHU, special housing unit, or hole, beforehand. And they do that, it's a signal like, we run this fucking prison, not you. So don't think for a second you're going to get away with something, Lawton. You're lucky you go to the yard. And then they'll clear you. Now, when you get to a prison, now whether it's a low, whether it's a camp, low, medium, or high, what'll happen next is you're going to go to a unit and you're going to have what they call a team. In your team is going to be a unit manager, a case manager, a counselor, and then of course the guards that run the unit and stuff like that. And they all rotate. The guards in a prison are on the security side. They're run by the captain of the prison. Now, when you go into that prison and you get assigned, nowadays, especially low security, minimum security, they can assign you a bunk. Now, in a maximum security prison, when I was in, they didn't assign you a bunk. You went into the unit and you found a bunk. And it was important you did it like that, because you want to be very harmonious with the people you live with. You don't want to just throw somebody in a cell. Who the hell do you know who it is? Now, I hear it's different today. They're just assigning people to cells. In really violent prisons that don't work because people get killed or stabbed. I mean, you want to know what the guy did. You want to know who he is. You'd like to keep it kind of within, what you can control. And in a maximum security prison with a lot of life sentence guys, harder to control that prison than it is a guys with 2 years and 3 years and stuff like that. And they have the threat of going into a higher prison, higher security level prison. So in that case, if you go like your regular 21-year-old kid, got arrested, got 24 months, 2 years in prison, and you go into a state prison, you're going to go to a low. Once they assign you to your unit, you're going to end up meeting your counselor, your case manager, and your unit manager. And they're going to give you the run, what they expect of you. Obviously, the case manager handles anything with your case. Are you going back to court? Is there appeals pending? Stuff of this nature. That's your case manager. He handles your case. Your counselor handles your personal issues. If somebody dies in your family, you have a personal issue. Visiting forms. Everybody wants to get visiting forms right in. What your phone number or phone code is to call out. You got to get all that. You don't just go there and it's, hey, here, go do your shit. No. But what you really should do is, obviously, you're going to find out who's from your neighborhood or area. If it's in a state prison and you're from Jacksonville, some other guys in there are going to be from Jayville. They might know who you are or what you did and know a homie of yours or whatever it is. And they say, hey, man, come here. What's up, bro? And then they'll tell you the ropes. Obviously, be smart because people are manipulative in prison. Are they gang members? Do they want you to be with that group? Do they need numbers? What is the reason? There are people, older cats, that usually try to help people and keep them from doing stupid shit, if you want to call it that, and trying to help a person get through the process of getting comfortable. Now, if you ever heard any of my videos, if you have a long stretch like I did, and I had 144 months, think of that, 144 months. When you have a long stretch in prison, it takes you years, literally, year, 2 years to get comfortable. And when I say comfortable, you're still feeling out, you're still in shock. You still don't know if you're going to live or die. You don't know the whole ropes. Yes, you might have been in prison, you might know what's going on like I would, but you don't get comfortable. And when I'm talking about comfortable is doing time, not letting time do you. There's an old saying in prison. Don't let time do you, you do the time. And if you can do the time and be constructive with it, like I did with the law work. Now, I wasn't always like that. At first, I was a hellraiser. I thought I was invincible. I didn't know I was going to even make it out of prison alive. That's just me. So I had a long stretch, so I tried to, fight the system. I had a tough time with losing a wife, divorce. Even though people say, yeah, it's going to, and it is going to happen, and you have to deal with it. But that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, because it did. It totally hurt. And I remember laying up in bed, crying, and you don't want to show weakness, so you're crying when your cell's locked, nobody knowing. Put your head in your fucking pillow and cry. Believe it or not, a lot of guys do it. And that's what happens. It's just what prison is about. So now once you get, in a short sentence, it'll take you a little bit less time. You're going to meet somebody usually in a state prison system or even in the feds that knows of your area. You start rapping with him. You start talking with him. He shows you the way to the chow hall, where the rec yard is, where the library is. They're not going to give you a map and say, oh, here's this, do this. They don't give a fuck. The guards in prison don't give a fuck who you are. They don't give a fuck what. They're just doing their time themselves. They're just doing a bit, we used to call it. They're doing their own bid right there. The guards are doing their own, but they just get to go home. The convicts get to know that prison better than anybody. You're going to have to know what the stamps are, the money is, how the commissary works, what chow, how your unit works, where things are. You're going to have to go to medical. You're going to have to probably go to psychology. You're going to have to education. A lot of prisons now will make you get an education if you don't have your GED. So they'll make you get that actual education. So now you're in prison. And I don't care how old you are, they'll make you do that. You're in prison. You got a few years. The best thing you can do is find people. And a lot of people ask me, can I just be quiet and do my time? Depending on the level of prison, yes. If you're in a maximum security prison, first of all, if you have a very short time, I hate to see it. That's why I didn't like what they did to Kodak Black. Congratulations, him getting a pardon. I didn't like that they put this young kid in a maximum security prison. It's too dangerous. He could have been killed at any minute. And I'm sure he was strapped down. He was also four-pointed, and he was abused. So that's going to come out. I'm going to interview Kodak Black. So anyway, as a young person, when you get in there, and hopefully, again, it's a low, tops of a medium security prison, you got to find the right people, and that's people skills. You need to have your own kind of set of people skills. And why I mean that is you have to be able to read people. You know, a lot of people ask me, was it, muscles that saved me in prison? Not at all. It was here. You have to figure things out before they start. That's very important. You kind of feel tension in the air. You're watching what people are wearing. You're watching who's grouping up. You got to keep an eye on things. Keep your mouth shut. You don't go to the cops. Cops, we call cop guards cops. You don't go to the cops and say, oh man, those people, I saw something. Shut your fucking mouth, do your time. People will know that and they'll respect that. Obviously, if you're going to prison for a bullshit crime or petty theft or robbery, minor robberies or minor drugs or even little weighted drugs, that's just crimes that are normal crimes. Nobody's gonna look at you bad. Obviously, if you attacked elderly people didn't like that. Obviously, children. If you're a pedophile or a chomo, as they call them in prison, that's not good. That's, you're not. And if you're a rat, and only you know if you're a rat. And obviously, you're gonna try to make every story in a book, but it's gonna come out. I can just let you know that. That's just what prison is about. Keep to your mouth shut, though. Go as long as you can. Obviously, when you get to that yard, you want to keep I always say keep your head straight and your eyes forward and ears closed. You don't want to know shit. You're going to have to know what the phones are, who's using what phone. Sometimes in some prisons, gangs have one phone and times, but people get to use the phones. Obviously, if you need a legal call, you're going to go to your counselor. And you say, listen, I got to talk to my lawyer. It's very important. Here's a letter. Usually the lawyer will set up a call and you can get a legal call with your counselor. And you go in there and get that legal call. So that's the original. Once you get settled in prison, look to change yourself. What got you in prison? Was it stupidity? You want to fit in? Is it money? Whatever it was. If you were smart enough to be a drug dealer, you're probably smart enough to do something legal. I look back at that a lot. Yes, I got lured into the whole life, obviously. But you, as a person, have to think about what you're going to do with your life. You're young. You just made a mistake. You are getting out. Don't fuck your life up in there. A lot of people ask me about tattoos. And, I'm a tattoo guy. But if you look at something, I don't have any below my wrist, none on my neck or face. So if I put a suit on, nobody even knows that I got tattoos. And of course, I got them all over, obviously. So, listen, even if you have them, I don't judge you. But there are people who will judge you. That's just society. And I think it's wrong, but it is what it is. You need to just get yourself straight with who you are, why you made your mistakes, and get out and move on in life. That's what's going to happen to you if you get arrested. Anybody gets arrested, that's what's going to happen to you. Hope you liked it. You need more information, you know how to contact, put it in the comments below. Check our stuff out. All the great information in the comments below and in the whole profile there. Check it out, everybody. Appreciate you very much. If you haven't subscribed, check us out. Go to Gangster Redemption Series. Have a great day, everybody. Stay strong. Stay out of trouble. Take care.